everybody. I'm Rebecca Miller, the current president of the League of Women Voters for Clallam County. We'd very much like to welcome you to tonight and thank you for participating in this thing we call democracy. I wanted to just give you a little background about the League of Women Voters, which is celebrating its 100th year this year. Very exciting for us. League of Women Voters is nonpartisan, which means that we never endorse a political party or a particular candidate. We certainly do take positions on things, which have gone through rigorous studies. And so I just wanted to make that clear for people, as I think sometimes they're not really sure what that's about. I'm also very excited to let people know that 2 months ago, the board of directors formed a new committee, the DEI committee, which stands for Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion. And it's a lens that we hope that we can view everything through as we're coming up into this year 2020 and beyond. So I am going to bail out on you and turn it over to my mentor and former president herself, Linda Benson, who is going to be the moderator for tonight.
Thanks, Rebecca. Normally we wait until the end to make several different announcements, and all announcements are important. But I'm going to do this one first now because I know that a lot of people, once the speakers are done, you're going to disappear and you won't hear this. And I wanted to make sure, for those of you who are interested, the state League of Women Voters does forums for all of the statewide offices. And if you want to see recordings of any of those, there's Superintendent of Public Instruction, Lieutenant Governor, the Treasurer, Secretary of State, all of those. You can go to our website, lwvcla.org, and you can click on any one of them, and then you can see the recording of all of those forums as well. And you can do that at your convenience. So we hope that you'll be able to participate that way if you haven't been able to see any of them. So thank you, all the speakers. And we really want to welcome the speakers. These are hardworking people from the commission. Charter review can be really confusing, especially for new people in our county. Vicki Rudin from our League Observer Corps, and many of you know her as one of our moderators, is going to first give us a brief explanation of the charter review process before we start the forum. Vicki?
Thank you, Linda. Clallam County is a home rule charter, meaning it's governed by a home rule charter approved by the local voters. The state constitution provides that any county may frame a home rule charter for its government, subject to the state constitution and the laws of Washington State. Clallam County is one of 7 counties that have charters. The other 32 are general law counties governed by the revised Code of Washington State enacted by the state legislature. Clallam County became a home rule county in November 1976 when voters approved the charter submitted by the 15-member Board of Freeholders elected the previous November. The freeholders undertook a comprehensive review of the then existing county government, researched the alternatives, conducted interviews, held public hearings, and drafted a document they believed would provide an improved form of government. A charter is a document outlining the form and organization of the county government. In brief, it's for the county what the Constitution is for our state and nation. A charter county may choose its own form of government and determine what officers are needed to perform county functions. As you will hear later, Clallam County is the only county that elects its Director of Community Development. However, the charter cannot prohibit electing the prosecuting attorney, the judges of the superior and inferior courts, or the jurisdiction of the courts. The preamble to the Clallam County Charter states that its purpose is to establish a government closer to the people that will be competent to manage the county's resources wisely, able to accept the benefits and responsibilities of local control, and be open to all views and responsive to the citizens of the county's needs of the county's citizens. The charter further assures the citizens the powers of initiative and referendum on county issues. A home rule charter can address matters not covered by state law or address them in any manner not inconsistent with state law. It can be particularly effective in areas where state law is silent. A county operating under a home rule charter may have the authority to act contrary to state general law if the subject is of local, not statewide significance. However, it's sometimes necessary to seek court rulings or attorney general opinions in order to clarify the issue of authority. Clallam County's charter form of government is actually very similar to that of Washington State's 32 general law counties. 4 of the 7 home rule charter counties, King, Pierce, Snohomish, and Whatcom, have much larger populations than Clallam County, are urban in nature, and have adopted governing structures quite different from the smaller counties. In Clallam County, the policy-making, legislative, and budget functions are the responsibility of the 3 elected commissioners assisted by an appointed professional administrator. You can read the Clallam County Home Rule Charter on the Clallam County website, www.clallam.net. The charter provides for periodic review. Members of a charter review commission, 5 from each of the 3 county commissioner districts, are elected to serve for 1 year. The Charter Review Commission is charged with reviewing the charter to determine its adequacy and suitability to the needs of the county and may propose amendments. The commission may also make recommendations to the county commissioners and publish information and/or findings. The Charter Review Commission does not have the authority to propose repeal of the charter. The charter gives that power to the public using the initiative petition process. The first Charter Review Commission was convened in 1983. The current one is the 7th. Prior to this year, 58 amendments have been proposed and 35 have passed. The current commission was elected by the voters in November 2019 and will serve until the end of 2020. The current Charter Review Commission has considered issues brought before it by its members, by county officials, and by the public. During the course of the year, citizens were given the opportunity to respond to a survey widely distributed throughout the county. The balance of our forum tonight will present the pros and cons of the proposed amendments, which will appear on this November's ballot. Thank you.
Thank you, Vicki. Okay, I'm reading. Sorry. Okay. So how this is going to go tonight is that we have allowed 15 minutes for each of the proposals, and we'll discuss each one individually. Each pro and con speaker will have 2 minutes to present their summaries. There will then be a 30-second rebuttals before they answer questions. Each answer will be 1 minute with 30-second rebuttals. This sounds very confusing, and it is, but luckily we have Bonnie Bliss Banish operating our digital timer. Hopefully all of you can see it. I can't see it. What happened to the timer?
I just put it in the mode.
Oh, okay, all right. So hopefully you can all see the timer there. And it will count down the time, and it's even color coded. So when it gets to red, that's when the speaker you can finish your sentence. You don't have to stop mid-sentence, but that means your time is up. Angie Scalf, who is our tech host for tonight, will be helping us with any glitches. We see her name in tech host, and there's her phone number. Angie is a co-vice president of the league and has chaired the voter services committee that's been responsible for our forums this election cycle. So first we're going to have Mary Doherty, and she will present the first 2 proposals. these are a little bit different because neither of these proposals have any opposition from the commissioners. All 15 commissioners agreed on these. So we don't have opposition speaker tonight, but you've probably all gotten your voter pamphlet. And I did notice that there is an opposition written by a citizen in that pamphlet. If anyone is interested, you'll want to read that whole pamphlet anyway. So Mary's going to do the first two for us. And Angie's going to put them on the screen. Can you make it the whole screen, Angie? Mary, you're muted.
I know, sorry,
Oh,
thanks.
Okay.
So I'm going to talk about two relatively simple things. In fact, I might be your favorite speaker because it's just a matter of 3 words, really. The first, Exhibit A that you see, has to do with the nonpartisan nature of the prosecuting attorney. And the recommendation, the amendment is that this no longer be listed as an elected office with a, I know that's wrong, as a partisan office. Well, that means the people who file for prosecuting attorney will not state a party, and the voter's pamphlet will not reflect a party. That's it. This makes it nonpartisan. And the backing, the reason behind it is the commissioners felt pretty strongly that partisanship doesn't have much to do with how we live out the rule of law and justice in the county, and it ought to be blind to partisanship. There's been no reaction against that. May I go on to the next one? Okay, and this is really simple. This is only one word. To insert the word county before the word commissioners when the intent is to refer to county commissioners, because there are several other commissions in the county, and when they're doing business, they refer to them as commissioners. So this is purely for clarification to remove any ambiguity as to which commission and which commissioners are being referenced. Just sticks the word county in there. Any comments, questions?
Thank you, Mary. And if anyone has any questions about those, you can type them in to
Okay.
Angie, and we will deal with those as they come in.
Thank you.
Okay, so we're going to have the third proposal now, and this proposal is concerning the frequency of charter review. Can we put that one up, Angie? Okay, this amendment would change the frequency of elections of the Charter Review Commission from 5 years to 8 years. And so we have both pro and con speakers here tonight, and Commissioner Erzin is first. And Commissioner Erzin, you have 2 minutes.
Thank you. I'm happy to support Amendment 3, the frequency amendment. The 6 other home rule charter counties in Washington all have larger populations than Clallam, and all of them have charter reviews every 10 years. The frequency amendment has been on the ballot 7 times. Voters supported 8 years, 7 years, and 5 years. The amendment for changing it back to 8 years means that there would be 4 commissions in the next 32 years instead of 6. Meeting frequently creates confusion about what charter review does. This year, we were asked to add to the charter the number of bathrooms in homeless campgrounds, to override state and national laws, and to add a heavy equipment emergency response plan to our charter. But charter review is not the legislative arm of our county, as Vicki said. It cannot pass laws and ordinance. Our charter is like our US Constitution. It's the framework for our government, and Congress passes the laws. We can amend our charter in 3 ways: through the charter review, through citizen initiative, and the Board of County Commissioners. Any amendment, whether from the Charter Review, County Commissioners, or the public, must be passed by the county's voters. I'm asking you to vote yes to change the frequency back to 8 years. We don't need to meet every 5 years. There will be 2 charter reviews less if we meet every 8 years. The charter is to our county what the Constitution is to the United States. Meeting frequently can confuse voters about what charter review can do. It saves money, and charter review is only one of 3 ways to amend our charter. Vote yes for Amendment 3. 8 is great.
Okay. Little campaigning there, huh? Okay, Commissioner Stokin, you have 2 minutes. Now, she is only, you will hear her, participants, she was not able to get video tonight, but you have 2 minutes for the con.
Thank you. So first I want to thank the League of Women Voters for their commitment to provide these invaluable forums. So for those who are not aware, there are 39 counties in Washington state, and only 7 of them have successfully achieved Home Rule Charter as their form of county government. I want to point out that we were the second to do so in 1976. In other words, our predecessors were true, cutting-edge leaders who had the insight to fight for a form of government that would permit more localized control. The regular reviews were incorporated into the charter, and the 5-year interval has served us well. I was surprised that one or several commissioners presented this proposal, since I recall no residents of Clallam County coming forth during our election season, nor during our term, to suggest that we should prolong the interval. Some of the commissioners expressed concern about repeatedly reviewing the same issues and that it was unnecessary and counterproductive, yet they have again proposed some of the very same issues that are going to be on this November's ballot. I invite you to go to our website at clallam.net, go to the left column for Charter Review, and look for the summary of public comments. I found it, for instance, very unfortunate that the proposal that had the most amount of public input during our term, the NEPA, N-E-P-A, the National Environmental Policy Act proposal, did not even make it to the ballot as our residents were urging. I urge you to vote no to this proposal to extend the interval. The problem may not be that the commission as a whole do not listen to we the people of Clallam County and the new and relevant issues that should be addressed now. And we need the interval to be 5 years because things change every 5 years. We need this opportunity. Thank you for listening.
Okay, thank you. And Commissioner Erzin, you have 30 seconds for rebuttal. You're muted, Sue.
This has been a difficult time for the Charter Review to accept public comments because of the pandemic. But we did send out a survey, which I hope all of you were able to fill out. There was no background information about any of the topics. It was not a voter's guide. Your presence here and
Hello?
I think Sue's feed cut out.
Hello?
Okay.
Sue was muted. You were muted and frozen.
Oh, sorry. Do I get
Okay.
another shot at it?
I think you probably had about 15 seconds left. So
All right. The
is that-
Charter Review Commissioners supported putting this amendment on the ballot. I am here to encourage you to vote for this amendment. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. And Commissioner Stokin, you have 30 seconds for rebuttal.
Okay, thank you. And I can't see the clock, so just let me know. Okay,
Okay.
so I want to tell you about the Bill of Rights. The Bill of Rights, as many of you may know, are the first 10 amendments to the U.S. Constitution. The Bill of Rights came out several years after the U.S. Constitution came to be. And so one of the things that a lot of the members of the public brought forth were issues that were very relative to human rights. And we didn't even start to touch on these issues in our one-year term. I found it very unfortunate that so many of our meetings got canceled, but we have issues like ranked choice voting, climate solutions, water security, the EMF, the harm of EMF, heavy equipment emergency response plan. These are very relevant issues that talk about quality of life. Am I done?
That was 30
Thank you.
seconds, Tree. Thank you.
Thank you.
I apologize for interrupting, but I know you can't see the timer.
Sure, no problem. Thanks.
Angie, do we have any questions come in on this?
Not yet.
Okay, so since we don't have any questions on this one, I'm going to suggest that each one of you take 1 more minute to do a final summary, because we won't have time for questions, but I'm sure you both will have something to say. So Commissioner Erzin, you have 1 more minute.
Oh, well, thank you. When I mention the Charter Review Commission to citizens, they usually ask, what is the Charter Review Commission? A lot of citizens don't know a lot about our county government. In thinking about that, I've decided it's because basically our county government is doing a good job. People are not upset about the way it's functioning. The Charter Review is not deluged with dissatisfaction. While there are citizens who would like us to do more, I think the basic structure of government at this time works. With this amendment, the Charter Review Commission can meet every 8 years. The Charter Review is only one of 3 ways to amend the charter. The commissioners or a citizen initiative can propose changes to the charter at any time. In the next 32 years, we will have 4 charter review commissions instead of 6. It will save money. Remember, it is not the legislative arm of our county, and the charter is for the county what the Constitution is for the United States. 8 is great.
Okay, thank you. Commissioner Stokin, you have 1 minute.
Sure. So one of the things I want to bring out is the composition of the Charter Review Commission and why that might be a consideration to keep the interval at 5 years. If you look at the composition, every member of the Charter Review Commission this year is Caucasian, and I suspect most of us are 60 years old or older. There were people who ran for this position who 2 of them were millennials, 1 of them was a Native American. Unfortunately, they did not get elected. The Charter Review Commission does not reflect our community. It does not reflect the richness of the cultural and racial diversity of our community. And to wait 8 more years before we give people who are members and should be welcomed members of our commissions and our local government an opportunity to run for these positions, I think is wrong, especially in 2020 in the climate in which we are existing. So I want to also, you can cut me off because I can't see the clock whenever, but I've been active in the Port Angeles, looking at the Port Angeles health.
That was 1 minute.
Okay, thank you so much. I appreciate you listening.
I'm sorry, I was muted myself and I wasn't paying attention, so.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Are there any questions now, Angie, that came in?
No.
Okay, then we'll just move on to the 4th proposal. And that concerns the election of commissioners county-wide. This amendment would change the system of electing county commissioners to a system in which county commissioners will be nominated by district and elected by the voters county-wide. So we have 2 speakers for that. And Commissioner Turner, you have 2 minutes.
Okay. I'm not seeing, just before I start, I'm not seeing the timer. Is that supposed to be somewhere on the screen?
Oh, it is. You don't
See it now?
go.
No, I don't see it. I mean,
I
I
never
can,
saw it either.
I'll just time myself, but I just want you to know that I
Okay.
don't have it.
Do you have speaker view on, or do you have a gallery view on? Up in the right-hand corner, way up in the right.
I have gallery view.
Okay. Click. Does it say gallery view?
Yeah.
Okay, click on that.
Click on that. Oh, and there's the timer.
Yeah,
Perfect.
there you
Okay.
go.
All
Okay.
right. Great. Okay. Thank you.
Okay. You have
So-
2 minutes.
All right, thank you. I think actually this amendment should read that we want to return Clallam County to electing county commissioners, nominating at district and voting countywide, because that's how Clallam County operated from 1976, the time the charter was passed, until 2015. So it's really only a 5-year anomaly that we have been electing commissioners by district only. So what does that mean? Well, it means our current Board of Commissioners were elected with 13, 17, and 24% of all the votes, and yet they get to make decisions for 100% of the people. So any one of them, there's 75% of the voters who didn't even get a chance to cast a ballot for them. The Port Commissioners, the PUD Commissioners are all their composition's the same as the counties. They have 3 districts, they have 3 representatives, I believe that, and they're all elected countywide. So I don't believe the county commissioners are all that special, that they should be elected totally differently than any other commissioner in the non-charter counties. And basically, one thing we can assure people is that when you go to countywide, you will decide who's going to be on the ballot in your primary. And I can guarantee you when they're elected, 100% of the time, that person will live in your district. So basically, I want to thank Mark Ozias, Commissioner Ozias, for endorsing this. And I believe that when the commissioners make decisions for all of us, we should all get to vote for them. And that's how it was done. And every other county commission does it that way. And I believe that what it does is engages the population in all of those elections. And as Aristotle said, if liberty and equality are to be found in a democracy, they will be attained when all persons alike share in the government to the utmost. This is asking all of our citizens to share in the utmost. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Commissioner Fleck,
Well, good
you have
evening.
2 minutes.
Good evening. Thank you for the opportunity to speak to the league and to the viewers watching this. I would strongly urge you to vote no on Charter Amendment number 4. In 2015, you, the voters, approved this with nearly a 60% vote, and every precinct in Port Angeles passed this, as pointed out to us by Ted Miller, who passed away and was one of our Charter Review commissioners. What is interesting is that voting by district allows a fair, equitable, and legislative encouraged approach to elections that highlight the ability of the small, unique communities to have an opportunity to be represented in their legislative assembly here at the county, which is our county commissioners. You don't get a center mass, the population vetoing one part of the county or the other. And a group, I would argue, has decided in the last 5 years that because they couldn't get their candidates elected at a district level at the general election, that this is one of the reasons to do this and go back to the way things were. The fractional argument that, well, only a percentage of the county elected these people is somewhat unusual in that only a small percentage of the state of Washington elects their person for Congress in comparison to the state Senate or the US Senate. So it's a little different in that regard. I think a better analysis would be to look at the primary elections and see whether the person who had the most votes in the primary in the old system actually ran and won countywide. I would argue they didn't. I think if you start looking into that history, you might have a better sense as to why this has been brought back up as a reassessment without really telling us why we're reassessing and what we're reassessing. So strongly encourage folks to vote no on this and keep our opportunities and follow the encouragement from the state legislature to go to a district-based election system. Thank you for your time.
Commissioner Turner, you have the 30 seconds for rebuttal.
Hey, Okay, yes, I want to remind you that the state mandates this same system of nominate at the district countywide. That's in every charter, that's in the 32 counties that are not charter. This idea that this is some kind of nefarious thing for people who didn't get their way absolutely cannot be proven. I went back and checked every election back to 1988. 80% of the time, the commissioner that got the most votes at the district level went on to win at the general. So there's a lot of misinformation being spread. I say vote yes on going back to countywide.
Commissioner Fleck, you have 30 seconds.
Well, I would just say vote no. You voted for election by district in 2015. Nothing's really changed that says we need to go back to an old way when we are actually moving forward towards that which has been encouraged and by new legislation in the Washington Voter Rights Act. We did the right thing in 2015. It's working very well. It's ensured a level of collaboration and cooperation with our county commissioners across their districts. So vote no on this amendment.
Thank you. Angie, do we have any questions? We do have a couple of questions that are pertinent to our previous one, and I'll take those later, but are there any questions that have come in pertinent to the Proposition 4?
No.
There aren't any? Okay. Then what we're going to do is we're going to give each of the commissioners 1 more minute to convince everybody of your position. Commissioner Turner, you have 1 minute.
Thank you. Yes, what Rod forgets to tell you is that this was on the ballot 2 different times on the charter, and both times the public said no. So we are just giving a chance to go back and say, Clallam County is the only county in the entire state that does it this way. And what we end up with was commissioners that are elected with a minority vote. One got 13%, one got 17%, one got 24%. When you do it this way mathematically, no commissioner can ever get more than 33% of the vote. They get to make decisions for 100% of us. 100% of us should vote for them. And this idea about, well, we do by districts for the state and federal. If you go back and look, those same representatives were on the ballot. In Clallam County, they all got over 50% of the ballot. So what I have this little graph here, it shows you, see those little funny red lines down at the bottom? That's what the county commissioners got. All the rest, that's the port, the PUD, the US representatives, and the state representatives. You can see that they all got a majority. Thank you.
Commissioner Fleck, you have 1 minute.
It's always interesting to listen to this argument because you couldn't get a majority of a large body if you're being elected by district. Mathematically, it can't happen. You can't get a majority of the state's election if you're the state senator for the 43rd or our 24th district. It's apples and oranges, and it's kind of a red herring. What folks should look at is, in 2015, you wanted to do this, and is it working for you, the voter? Is it allowing you, the voter, to have that direct contact with your county commissioner at a district level in a legislative process? The process of looking at how you ensure cooperation, coordination has worked for 5 years and has done very well with our county commissioners. I'm not sure the argument about trying to connect all these dots that aren't there, but vote no. It's the right choice you made 5 years ago. It's the right choice to make again.
Okay, thank you. So now we'll go on to Proposal 5, which we can put up, and that concerns the appointment of the Department of Community Development Director. Can we put that up full screen, Angie? I can see it, but I don't know if everybody else can. The amendment would remove the Director of Department of Community Development from elected county officials. There we go. Thus returning it to an appointed position. The amendment shall become effective at the end of the elected Director of Department of Community Development's term. Okay, so we have speakers that will each have 2 minutes for this first. Commissioner Morris, you have 2 minutes.
Thank you for the opportunity to speak. I propose this amendment, and for a couple of reasons. Well, first off, I do want to say in no way am I saying that the current DCD director is not doing a good job. I believe she is doing a good job, but is hindered by the lack of local, state, and national laws and regulations for an elected DCD director. We interviewed county elected and appointed officials when we started the commission this year, and that included the DCD director, and her recommendation was to return to an appointed position. All of those officials recommended return to appointed. Every jurisdiction in the nation appoints this position. Because all DCD directors appointed, there are no Washington state laws governing an elected director, thus causing policy and governance issues. I served on the commission in 2002 when we changed it from appointed, or recommended it from appointed to appointed to elected, sorry. And at that time, for various reasons, it made sense. I know that there's been several times that it has been back to the voters and they have not elected to change it. But in the charter, it says that in December 31st by 2004, that there will be recommendations brought forward for changes to the charter for an appointed DCD director. And to my knowledge, no changes have been made at a local or state level, which is to the detriment of the elected position. The DCD director even indicated that she didn't have peers that she could discuss this with because she is the only one in the nation. So I am proposing that we return this to an appointed position because the County Board of Commissioners have the legislative and executive authorities.
Okay, thank you. Commissioner Fleck,
Well,
you have 2 minutes.
thank you, ma'am. When this was first proposed as an elected position, there was a huge concern about an appointed person having so much say and influence over one of the basic foundation rights every person has, which is the right of property and how they use their property. And so the decision was to put it to the voters to see whether or not they wanted an appointed at the and influenced by the 3 commissioners, or accountable to the voters. The voters wanted it accountable to them. And 2 other times since then, the voters have reaffirmed that they wanted the position elected and accountable to them. Because of that position's and that department's influence over some of their very basic dreams of how they'd use their property. What are some of the issues associated with land use, policy issues in that regard. We have the same elected type of people in charge of property taxes and how property is assessed. So the idea that this would be voted on was adopted by the voters. What's interesting is the charter allows us this creativity to have a unique flair and approach to things. And yet at the same time, we're being told we'd much rather have everything be just like all those other counties. Arguably here, you, the voter, have the ability to decide how you want this person to do their job and how they are accountable to you. With regard to the tensions within the courthouse and the inner workings of that building with regard to this position, the commissioners have the ability and had the ability to go in and make some suggested changes within the ordinances. They've failed to do so for the last 18 years. Rather, they've thrown up their hands and said, well, this is elected, we can't do anything. That's not the proper approach. Any issue that seems to be out there, they could help be a part of the solution to solve. So you have 3 times, you voted for this to be elected, please continue to do so.
Commissioner Morris, you have 30 seconds.
Again, the charter states that the County Board of Commissioners have the legislative and executive authority, and the DCD director prepares and presents information to them for consideration and approval, much like an appointed staff member would. There are often conflicts related to the Board of County Commissioners and the DCD director because we do not have regulations around what an elected DCD director does. So often there is controversy about who's making the decisions.
Commissioner Fleck, you have 30 seconds.
There's a lot of things that could be done by ordinance here by the county commissioners working in together with the elected DCD director to address those. They could help define roles, explain the advice and consent process, and ensure coordination. That's not really the issue here. The issue is one of whether you, the voters, want a person who has the ability to implement and regulate land use, which they do through their department, elected and accountable to you, or at the whim and will of 3 commissioners.
Thank you. And I do have one question here. It's a little bit confusing for those of us who don't delve deeply into all of the, reading all of it. And it seems that the director of the DCD does not have the power to make land use decisions, that the county commissioners have that power. Would that change any if the position were appointed instead of elected, or is that misinformation that I have? And Commissioner Fleck, you have 1 minute. You're first.
Well, the director of DCD oversees the long range and short range planning. So if you have a question about how you're going to do something, how something, the zone process is applied, that position actually has some influence and say over that. And we saw that with an effort with regard to the 4-bedroom, 32,000 square foot bed and breakfast. And the position taken by the DCD director was very different, very reflective of the community, by the way, than what the county commissioners wanted and expected in a approach to settle and resolve that. Ultimately, the court tossed out the complaint by the applicant and the county prevailed. So I think there's a lot more influence of the DCD director in those everyday decisions than some folks are wanting to acknowledge and realize from their role in charge of the planning departments.
Okay, thank you. Commissioner Morris, you have 1 minute.
In my opinion, this particular position, the county commissioners, because of undue pressure, often make decisions and overrule the elected DCD director. There needs to be changes made in the charter in order to put in the rules around an elected DCD director. This position should purposefully be non-political, and we should join with thousands of other governmental bodies and return the position to one of appointment. And also, as I stated previously, all of the elected and appointed positions that we interviewed by the charter members, including DCD directors, said they wanted it to return to an appointed position. And I think that's very important. We listened to what they said, and we are bringing it to the voters because they are really the experts on how day-to-day things go.
Okay, thank you. Angie, do we have any questions that came in on this?
Nikki has her hand up. I can allow her to speak and ask her question if that's all right.
Sure.
All right, Nikki, you should be able to speak. You are muted at the moment. You'll need to unmute yourself to ask your question.
Actually, as I was typing my question, it got answered.
Perfect.
Oh,
So you guys are doing such a good job.
Thank you, Nikki.
Okay, great, thanks. Okay, then we'll move on to the 5th one. Our 5th proposal, oh, no, wait a minute. That's where we were, sorry. Oh gosh, we're well ahead here of time. The 6th proposal concerns required signatures for petitions. So this one says, if we can get it, yeah, the amendment would change the number of signatures required to file an initiative petition for repeal of the charter from 35% to 20% of the number of voters who voted for the office of governing the last statewide election. All right, so we have two speakers for this one. And first is Commissioner Erzin. You have 2 minutes.
There we go. Thank you for asking me to speak on Amendment 6, the signature amendment. Just to clarify, I do not want to repeal the charter. This past fall, friends of mine showed me an unfair hurdle in our home rule charter. Our charter requires an initiative, I hope you can see this, to repeal the charter to have signatures equal to 35% of the voters in the last gubernatorial election. I did some research and found out how singular this is. If you want to place an initiative on the ballot now, you would have to collect 13,811 signatures. The Amendment 6 simply reduces the number of signatures to 7,892. Frankly, I don't understand how anyone can oppose this. 20% is the highest number in all other charters and in the Washington RCWs. And 7,892 is not a small number. It's more than the entire population of Sequim. It's more than the number of voters who elected each of our county commissioners. Our charter only requires 3% to place an ordinance on the ballot, 10% to place a referendum to repeal an ordinance. In Washington, our state, only 8% is required to place an initiative on the state ballot. The fact is also that the initiative process is the only way that the charter can be repealed. This amendment makes it possible to get the issue on the ballot. Voters can approve or reject it. I urge you to vote yes on Amendment 6, the signature amendment.
Linda, you're muted.
I'm sorry. I was just too busy telling Tree she was muted. Commissioner Stokin, you have 2 minutes.
Okay, can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. So as I mentioned earlier, Clallam County was the second out of 7 counties in Washington state to successfully adopt Home Rule Charter as its form of governance in 1976. Of all the amendments that appear on November's ballot, I found this proposal to be most disturbing. During 13 campaign events that I attended during election season, I heard no member of the public even remotely suggest that we should repeal our charter, which is our Constitution. When our term began in January 2020, the chair of the commission, Sue Erzin, asked if any of us were willing to compile and tally the public comments that we were receiving by email, in person at the meetings, or during the eventual virtual meetings. I agreed to help with that task, so I want you to know that I have paid very close attention to which issues have and have not been raised by our residents. I invite you to review the summary of public comment at our website, clallam.net. Go to the left column, go down to Charter Review Commission, and then partway down is the summary. I want to make sure that everyone understands that this proposal is not about the number of signatures required for all petitions. It is specifically about the percentage of voters required to repeal our charter. The charter itself provides the means for periodic review and revision. To make such a major proposal that could impact the governance of our county without robust public discussion and debate is, in my opinion, irresponsible and not in the best interest of our residents nor our county. Vote no to this proposal about decreasing the signatures to repeal our charter. This proposal is unwanted and unneeded. Thank you.
Okay, Commissioner Erzin, you have 30 seconds for rebuttal.
This is a simple fix for the disenfranchisement of voters. 35% is preposterous. 20% is the highest number in our charter, and it is also the it is the highest number in any charter in the state. This gives voters a fair chance to put this initiative on the ballot. This initiative is not to repeal the charter. It is to make it fair for voters who might want to do that to put it on the ballot. Thank you.
Commissioner Stokan, you have 30 seconds.
Okay, when I had discussed this proposal with a constitutional attorney, the one line that I said I will repeat, the charter itself provides the means for periodic review and revision. And the other thing I want to say is the very name of this amendment, it's called Signatures Required for Petitions. I think that's a deceiving name because it's not signatures for all petitions. It's specifically about the charter. So I don't know if that title was by accident or by intention, but I find it deceiving. Thank you for listening.
Thank you. And we did have a question about the wording. It says, please explain why the amendment says amendment to repeal the charter. I agree that to place an initiative should be 20%, but I'm reading this amendment wrong. And you may both have clarified this in your rebuttals, but I'm going to give each of you 30 more seconds here. And so Commissioner Erzin, it's your turn.
Well, my reading of the amendment says the signatures required for petitions. And it says on the first line, the Clallam County Home Rule Charter provides that an initiative to repeal our charter. It's very specific. I agree, petitions is not the normal word that we use, but it's probably less confusing than signatures required for initiatives because it's only about this one initiative.
Thank you. Commissioner Stokan, did you have anything to add for that clarification?
Sure, I think, yeah, I would just say the very question that came in shows that there's confusion about this proposal, and so that itself may invalidate the credibility of this proposal. But I also want to mention the survey. You know, I did not participate in creating the survey, and that was on principle, because this survey was actually, the idea was conceived before COVID-19. And then after COVID-19, it came up, it was almost like it was said that, oh, this is the reason why we created a survey. But I think that there were certain commissioners that wanted certain issues pushed. They created this survey. This was a way to get the public to appear to care about these issues. And I did not participate in creating this. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, I don't think we have any other questions on that.
I just got one and put it in the chat.
One just came in. Okay, here's another question. How many signatures for putting an initiative on the ballot? Commissioner Erzin, 30 seconds.
20% to put an amendment, 20% of the signatures in the last gubernatorial election to put an amendment to the charter on it, which is one of the ways that you can amend the charter. And 20% is the highest number in every charter in the state of Washington and in the RCWs. It's a huge number, too. It's a huge hurdle.
I think this question was specific about any other initiative, if I'm...
That's why I said 20% to put an amendment on the...
For an initiative? Is it 20% to put an initiative on the ballot?
No, it's 3% to put an initiative on to place an ordinance on the ballot. Oh. It's 10% to put an initiative on to put a referendum on the ballot. It's 8% in the whole state of Washington to when you have the initiatives that are put on the ballot. And it's 20% to put an amendment on for the charter on the ballot. There is no other place anywhere that they use the number 35%.
Okay. Commissioner Stokin, did you have anything to add to that? That was kind of a
well-
clarifying question.
Well, I was wondering, there's only one attorney on the Charter Review Commission, and that's Attorney and Commissioner Rod Fleck. And am I permitted to let him comment on that? Because he may have better information about that than I do.
Sure. Commissioner Fleck?
So one of the challenges, I think, with the difference in numbers is the difference in what the objective is. Undoing your constitutional system of government shouldn't be easy. It should be difficult and should be a challenge. And I think that's why the number was set that high.
Okay. Commissioner Erzin, would you like 30 seconds?
I would just show you this chart once more, that number of 11,830 or 13,811 is astronomical. You could not achieve that number even with paid signature gatherers. And just repeat that 7,892 is greater than the population of the city of Sequim. It's still a large number.
Okay, so
All we ask you to do is get it on the ballot.
Okay, so what?
It's all, that's the whole thing. It's an initiative. You can vote it down.
Okay, so one more 30-second rebuttal. Commissioner Fleck, is that for you or Tree? Who wants to do that one?
Yeah. Commissioner Fleck may do that if he'd like.
Okay. Well, I think it's interesting. It's like, this is an astronomical number. You can't obtain it. It's too difficult to try. It's bigger than the city of Sequim. The county charter is the county charter. It's an important document that allows us to be very unique. We're one of just a handful of charter counties in the state of Washington. Allows us to do some creative things. If we want to completely abandon that and just become any other county in the state of Washington, that should take some work, should take some effort, and should take a lot of commitment. Vote no.
All right. Thanks to all of our speakers. They're all, that whole commission are volunteer citizens who serve on this.
Don't we get a closing statement?
You know, I didn't have that built in, but we certainly have time to do it. So let's each want to do
a minute.
But you're just doing one of them. You mean you want to do a whole general one?
No, everybody else got to do a closing statement on our amendment.
Oh, we were into rebuttals. Those were
Right.
30-second rebuttals. Did I mess it up?
And now don't we get a closing statement, a closing argument for why to vote for number 6?
Since we have time, yes, we can do that. You can do 1 minute and then we'll have 1 minute opposing. Go
Great.
ahead. 1 minute.
Okay. To reiterate, no other initiative in our charter requires more than 20%. This amendment does not repeal the charter. It helps citizens put the issue on the ballot so that voters can reject or accept it. The initiative process is the only way to repeal our charter. 20% is the highest number in every other charter in the state. 35% does not exist in any other Washington charter. This change is a fairness issue. And 7,892 is still a large number. I urge you to vote yes for all the amendments. Thank you.
Okay, Commissioner Stokin, do you want to do the summary? 1 minute?
Sure. So again, I want to thank the League of Women Voters and to all those who are listening tonight and all the commissioners who have participated. It's been a long process and there have been disagreements as to what issues should or should not merit review by the Charter Review Commission. I know I kept repeating it over and over again, but I really think that we are elected to represent the people, to listen to the people, and to push things forward. And, you know, one of the things that's happened is that the commissioners that have served over and over again, some of them have said, oh, we got to prolong the interval. We got to maybe think about repealing the charter. It's not that, I mean, the perception is it's not that important. I mean, I was astounded when I heard the idea that anybody would even want to touch the issue of repealing the charter, because to me, it is so important that it was unbelievable. But anyway, I'm grateful to all of the members of the public that did take the time to come to our meetings when we did have in-person meetings, the ones who sent emails, and the ones who came to the virtual meetings. Those are the people that I care a lot about. I care about the survey to a point.
Okay, your time
thank you.
Your time is up.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
And we did have a question that came in that goes back to the very beginning, and I'm going to ask Mary Doherty to answer this because she's the one that presented it.
Okay.
It's a question for, are there other commissions such as PUD and Port, partisan or nonpartisan?
I'm going to ask my colleagues to check me on this, but while we were doing all the others, the minute that question showed up, I looked at the Port website, I looked at the PUD website, and there's no mention in their of qualifications that include partisanship. And I looked at their bios, and in none of their bios does it say anything about party affiliation. So are there others on the Charter Review Commission who want to say, who have conflicting evidence to that?
Norma?
I wouldn't do conflicting. I would just say that absolutely PUD and Port are nonpartisan.
Right.
Clallam County commissioners are partisan. A little interesting factoid is that since we started as a charter in 1976, that partisanship has been really well balanced, that we've had 13 Republicans, 16 Democrats, and 3 independents. So the partisanship is well spread out amongst the county commissioners.
Okay, thank you. That was really a clarifying question, and I appreciate it. So now let's do this again. I would like to thank all of our speakers. The county commission they're all volunteers, and they put in hours and hours and hours of time. And if we were here in person, we would give them a round of applause, but we can't do that. So I just want to thank them. I want to also remind everyone that ballots will be mailed tomorrow. And remember that in Washington, you can register to vote up to and on Election Day, November 3rd. The easiest way to register or to verify that your registration is up to date and accurate is by going to votewa.gov. You need to do that by October 26th.
Right.
If it's after the 26th, you can still register and change your address, but you'll need to do it in person at the courthouse. And because of the COVID-19 safety limitations, be sure to call ahead and confirm their hours. In order to be counted, your ballot must be postmarked or placed in a ballot drop box by 8 p.m. on Election Day, November 3rd. If you're using the mail, the post office recommends voters return their ballot a week before Election Day. Voters returning their ballots less than a week before Election Day are encouraged to use an official ballot drop box, of which there are 9 throughout the county. And you can find where these boxes are located if you go to www.votewa.gov, and it'll tell you where all the boxes are. Thanks again to Angie and Bonnie for their technical help. And we deeply appreciate the patience that everyone has with this new platform. We're looking forward very much to when we can have these events in person, again, it isn't, we get the information, but it's really not the same. We can't hang around afterwards and ask more questions. So thanks to everyone. And also remember, it really helps those hardworking people in the auditor's office if everyone votes early. So get out your pamphlets, and thank you all for being informed voters, and thanks again to the speakers. Have a good night.
Good night.
Good night.
Thanks.